just over a week after Beto O'Rourke had the narrow loss to Ted Cruz in the senatorial race in Texas, everyone is thinking that he is going to be the Democratic nominee for president in 2020.
It sure seems that way.
A lot of people people are looking into every little thing to say, all right, this is a sign. And I think he had posted something on social media about going for a jog in the snow in D.C. And people took that as, oh, he's jogging in D.C. He's trying to send us a hint that he's running. He's running.
We got him.
Maybe he is.
We got him strolling around Capitol Hill. You know, he's a congressman.
Yep. For another couple months.
For another, even less than that. Well, about 2 months.
Yeah.
And so we got him out. And I thought our camera guy was great. I thought he was really, it's really interesting because we talked about the race, we talked about his family, and he did not close that door on running. He could have, but he didn't.
What's the next step for you, man? You're now a national star, man. What's?
Gonna hang out with my family this week. Headed back to Texas, and just getting to spend time with them. Our kids are young. Haven't seen them for most of the last 2 years, and getting to spend some time with them. So I'm looking forward to that.
I hear you on that, man. Hey, so a lot of people out there are already saying you should run for president. Have you given any thought to that?
No, I just can't. No, we haven't really been able to talk.
So it sounds like you might be open to it, possibly.
You know, I haven't made any decisions about anything. Is probably the best way for me to put it.
Well, he had plenty of opportunities there to say
that was in his head. He goes, I can't say that I want it.
So
you can't say you want it. You need other people to.
That's the sound of a door wide open for a political run in 2020.
Right. I mean, look, I've covered, stories and politics for a long time, and very few politicians are able to kind of translate authenticity when they're talking to reporters, because they tend to be too studied, they tend to be too cautious, they tend to just kind of hold, reporters at bay, people at bay, because they want to get their message. It's so
guard was down. Guard was fully down.
But not just down, but like he's so, and I think that's one of the reasons he's such a star, is that he can give a rousing speech, but he is also a human being. And I think that's what a lot of politicians lose, the ability to show that.
And to that point, I think when he knows, we'll know. I really do. Yeah. Most guys and ladies that have run for president, they kind of say that they're not going to run,
But you know they are.
Right. Then they form an exploratory committee, and then boom, they make the announcement. In this particular case,
so you believe him that he hasn't actually decided yet?
I don't think he's decided yet.
It actually sounded like, what it actually sounded to me like he almost said it like it kind of still stings the loss.
I think he's really really wanted to represent.
He did, and I think
his state, and he really wants to make sweeping change in Texas, which, to be honest, is even more sort of enamoring that he cares about that and not just his political profile.
I kind of see it differently, because I think there is a way of looking at it, and I think he's such a smart guy. In many ways, he won this because he's changed the whole composition of Texas.
I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think he looks at it like that.
But I think he understands that to come that close in a state that by all rights should not have gone the way it did, if you look at history,
it definitely shows
it's really amazing
that there's a change.
And his drawing power. But
he still wanted to win.
I think,
of course he did.
I think the consolation prize might just be being the most powerful man in the world.
Agreed.
But
you know what it is, Van? It's like the guy who comes in runner-up in The Bachelor becomes The Bachelor next season.
Or runner-up in American Idol. And all of a sudden they become,
Next thing you know, you go on, you win an Oscar.
Jennifer Hudson. He's the Jennifer Hudson of politics.
Although she wasn't even runner-up.
But I don't know. I mean, I think this guy, I just feel it in my bones. And it's probably good for him that he's going to be out of Washington, because you're not going to have all of that tarnish on you. And God knows what's going to happen in the next 2 years.
I was going to say, so he played that perfectly when we spoke to him, but as I agree with you, I don't know that he even played anything. He was just
kind of who he is,
being him.
Hi, guys. It's Scott from Orange County, California. I hope he does run. I think he brings hope. He brings change. He brings the country together. I was in Dallas during the election on a business trip, and I can tell you throughout Dallas, there were far more Beto signs than anyone else. And I do think it stings. He needs to take a little time off, spend it with his family, and then make a decision. But I do hope he runs, and the fact that he likes bad brains is a plus for me.